staying on the subject of Trump, Mike Pence, and specifically an ad that the Mike Pence World, Pence Aligned Super PAC dropped against Trump, that actually, as I talked about a lot in the lead up to Mike Pence's presidential announcement, he seemed terrified to actually correctly criticize Donald Trump, but now he is doing that more. And I went through in the last segment, the CNN town hall with Mike Pence, plenty of my issues with Mike Pence, and some of them will be in this ad. But the one thing he did do correctly, notably, was stand against Trump on January 6th. And actually, he, in this ad you're about to watch, calls out how weak, how dangerous someone like Donald Trump is, in part because of his actions on January 6th. And then, of course, the protagonist in this video is Mike Pence. Take a look at this.
A president begging him to ignore the Constitution. A mob shouting for him to die. And an anxious nation watching for one man to do what's right. A weak man appeases a mob. A man of courage and character stands up to them. That day, one man failed the test of leadership, while another stood tall. And since then, this so-called leader has continued to abandon our conservative principles. Now, with a woke mob trying to take away our freedom,
and this is obviously where now Mike Pence gets back into oppositional territory compared to me, but we'll continue.
We need a president who won't flinch, who won't try to cut deals with our values. A president with the courage and the faith to lead us through turbulent times and keep America the beacon of freedom for all mankind. Mike Pence for president, committed to America.
I'll say again, like I did in the last segment, Pence would not be a good president. He himself is rather dishonest, but that message is the beginning part of that video, the only part of his, I guess, track record that is notably and historically courageous. Now, I mentioned yesterday, Josiah, who's joined me on the show a number of times recently from the Pondering Politics YouTube channel, we differ on this a little bit. How much credit do you give someone like Mike Pence for not going along with a coup? I think the analogy Josiah has previously used is that's like giving someone credit for standing next to a puppy and not kicking it. And I get that, I do. And then I just knee-jerk give people credit when they do something that was so impactfully the correct thing to do, even though obviously Mike Pence is expected, any elected leader should be expected not to go along with anti-democratic efforts such as the one Trump was pushing upon Mike Pence. But he ultimately did the correct thing. So that distinction being made between him and Trump is a notable one for sure. And him pointing out that that Trump is such, I think that the terminology he used was a weak man, which that's not what Trump likes to hear. That'll definitely make him angry, because deep down, Trump's biggest insecurity is that he's just an insecure, weak man who does all of this to try to fill himself up with something to fill that void, the empty void within him of insecurity, of loneliness in a profound way because of the narcissist that he is. And this whole political endeavor does just seem to be for him that a narcissist attempting to get a bunch of attention and feel super significant. And so calling him out for how he's just playing for his audience, he's just trying to portray himself as a strong leader who's an alpha male or whatever, it's all just an act. And January 6th and his sensitive reaction to losing an election, so sensitive, such a snowflake that he couldn't just accept like all of these other past leaders have, that he lost an election. It hurts. I get it. I'm sorry. He lost. But you got to accept it. He couldn't. And so he created an entire movement around pretending like he won, even though he didn't. Really sad. Really, really sad. And calling that out is important. Now, it is a little bit, not too little too late, because it's never too late to call out the anti-democratic views of Trump and actions of Trump. But for Mike Pence, it's been years now, and he's had the most mild critiques of Trump. Here and there, he'll acknowledge the danger that Trump has posed, but he's been very quiet for someone who had a mob sicked on him. So it's a little bit aggravating that, okay, now that you're running for president, you're willing to be a little bit more harsh. I definitely felt that. But I have more to look at here from Mike Pence. This is from his announcement speech.
On that fateful day, President Trump's words were reckless. They endangered my family and everyone at the Capitol.
But I still might endorse him if he's the nominee.
But the American people deserve to know that on that day, President Trump also demanded that I choose between him and the Constitution. Now voters will be faced with the same choice. I chose the Constitution.
And that was the correct decision. And I wish you would have made it your mission after January 6th to correctly call out the threat that your party now poses because of its attachment to Donald Trump to our democracy. But you here and there would say things, and now you're a little bit more aggressive, but it's definitely not enough. It doesn't match the moment. But there it is, kind of the first bits of the Mike Pence 2024 presidential campaign.